me begin by saying what a privilege it is to be a part of this 8th Parliament of World Religions and to bring you and share with you some thoughts about the time in which we find ourselves gathering. As the health pandemic of COVID-19 spread across the globe, it laid bare another long ignored global pandemic, that of white supremacy. It was no surprise, therefore, that as Black Lives Matter protests erupted in the United States in response to the murder of George Floyd, they sparked Black Lives Matter protests across the globe, from Australia to Africa to Asia to Europe. Thousands of people took to the streets with the cry for Black Lives to Matter, and thus demanding an end to the kind of life-negating realities of inequity, inequality, and injustice that foster death for people of color, and hence make clear that Black lives do not, in fact, matter. And so it is. In this time of global protests and reckoning, if you will, for a more just society and world, one free from the pervasive breach of our humanity that is white supremacy. It is in this time that we must ask ourselves what it means for us to be religious and faith leaders. What even does it mean for us to gather in conferences such as this during this time that is ours of global suffering, be it suffering from a health, economic, or ecological crisis, suffering that continually has disproportionate fatal impacts on the lives of people of color across our globe. I am convinced that this time in which we are living is nothing less than our Kairos time. As so aptly stated by South African clergy and theologians in their 1985 Kairos document, this is for us, and I quote, a moment of grace and opportunity, a favorable time in which God issues a decisive challenge to action, end quote. Yet, as this Kairos document went on to say, it is also, and I quote again, a dangerous time because of this opportunity is missed and allowed to pass by. The loss, it says, for the church, as well as for wider society, is immeasurable, end quote. The point of the matter is that the immense inhumanity that has been perpetrated upon the bodies and lives of people of color as a result of the complex and intersecting realities of white supremacy have happened on our watch as religious and faith leaders. And so it is. This time of Kairos in which the pandemics of COVID-19 and white supremacy have converged to make unmistakably clear the conditions of death in which far too many Black and brown lives are trapped across the globe. This is a time in which we are being called to account. That we proclaim to be religious and faith leaders means that we are to be accountable, not to the way things are or to the mercurial and compromising declarations of human beings and hence human societies regarding the meaning of justice. Neither are we to be accountable to the frailties of human history. Rather, as religious and faith leaders, we are to be accountable to the infinitely transcendent divine possibilities for justice and freedom. We are essentially to be accountable to the call of our souls. Our souls are that which connect us to that transcendent moral arc of the universe, as Theodore Parker put it and Martin Luther King Jr. popularized, that arc that bends toward justice, that which is the loving justice of the being I call God. Our soul is the very core and essence of who we are as human beings. It is that which connects us to our higher selves, our aspirational selves, if you will. It is that which enables us to be connected to our divinely created goodness. Put another way, our very soul is that which animates us, pushes, if not compels us to do better, to be better. It prompts us to live into our better selves, into the fullest potential of what it means to be human, and hence what it means to be just, to be good. My friends, make no mistake about it. In this time of global reckoning with the virus that is white supremacy and all of its variants and transformations, more is at stake than the well-being of our societies and nations. The very well-being of our collective souls is at stake. And so it is left for us, as religious and faith leaders, to hear, if you will, the urgings of our very soul, so to reconnect a global people to their very souls. In so doing, if nothing else, we as religious and faith leaders must embody and show forth an alternative moral vision in witness to the fact that there is a possibility beyond a moral imaginary that equates the unjust privileges that come from whiteness with justice. In short, we must help free our nations, our people, our global world's moral imaginary from its captivity to a white supremacist view of the world, and indeed view of justice. We must expand the moral imaginary so that it can actually hold and envision a future where the first are last and the last are first, not because there is a reversal of fortunes, but because there are no first, there are no last. Rather, every single solitary human being is treated and respected with fairness and equality as the sacred creations that they are by virtue of the very sacred breath they breathe, regardless. If Black life is ever to matter in this world, one thing is clear. It demands a moral imaginary that can contain just such a vision of God's just future. Anything short of that signals a nation, a people, a world, and perhaps even faith and religious leaders who are still held captive to white supremacist sin. I have no illusions that the task is going to be easy. It will require a steadfast commitment to doing the work that will carry on well beyond even the protests, global protests for Black lives to matter. But this I do know to be true, that if we as religious and faith leaders do not respond to this Kairos moment that is ours, and thus hold ourselves accountable to the urgings of our very souls, then we cannot expect the world to be any closer to a more just future for tomorrow's generation than it is for today's generation. And so, at this 8th Parliament of the World's Religions, let us each take seriously the task that is ours to at least get on the arc that bends toward infinitely transcendent justice, so that there will in fact be a time when we can all come together again and say with that divine being that created us all, that Black lives indeed do matter. Thank you.